Welcome, everybody. I'm François-Xavier. I'm the Managing Director of Faraday in the Benelux. As most of you know, at Faraday, we host a series of interviews with some of the most renowned VC investors from our ecosystem. Today, I would like to welcome Alain from Cottonwood Technology Fund, former colleague of mine at EIT Digital, but also a very talented investor. So Alain, thank you very much for joining us. Why don't you start just telling us a little bit more about yourself and Cottonwood?
Okay, clear. So yes, my name is Alain le Loux. I live and was born in the Netherlands. I have a double master's degree at the Technical University of Twente in 1994. And 1999, I did my MBA at the Business School Netherlands. I had a long career in the ICT industry until 2008. In 2002, I was already board member in some startups, just as a sidestep beside my corporate career. And in corporate career, I ended up with a division of 1,000 people. But my nickname was the only entrepreneur who works for a corporate. So in the end, I decided to do something else. So I became CEO of a high-tech startup also in the region. And that company was being sold to a German multinational within 2 years. And at that moment, I decided to start as a business angel. And I was also hired by the local incubator, Kennispark Twente at that moment, to coach the spin-offs of the University of Twente in lab on a chip, nanotechnology, in materials, all those kind of things. And I was also hired by EIT Digital, European Institute for Technology Innovation. And I set up the program for digital scale-ups. And I think I coached over 200 scale-ups all over Europe, in Paris, Berlin, London, Stockholm, Helsinki, Budapest, Madrid, Milano, Eindhoven, and Brussels. Traveled a lot. And end of 2014, Cottonwood, which is originally a US-based firm, came to the Netherlands. And that's how I got recruited as a partner for the European part of the fund.
Yeah, interesting. Indeed, I remember our time together at EIT Digital, so I can confirm about the entrepreneurial spirit and also the help you provided and you keep providing to people. So thanks for that. So yes, Cottonwood, tell us a bit more.
Yeah, Cottonwood is originally founded by Dave Bliff in 2010. Dave is already more than 25 years in venture capital, had a lot of successful funds before in the past, started already in 1995. And in 2010, he started Cottonwood. And Cottonwood is the fastest growing tree in the US, so that's where the name is coming from. We typically invest 1 to 2 million in the founding stage in pre-seed seed deals. And only in high tech, currently we say deep tech or hardware related stuff. So like nanotechnology, photonics, robotics, advanced materials, clean energy, advanced manufacturing, those kind of stuff, mostly always science-based companies. What we say IP driven with patents. And I think 90% of our companies are spin-offs of universities or a kind of a spin out of a research institute. We invest in the Southwest US and in Northern Europe. And we screen and scout around the universities and out the research institutes. We receive more than 800 pitch decks per year. But typically we invest only in 2 or 3 of them. And yeah, as mentioned, we do a first round, 1 to 2 million. And at that time, we are kind of venture builders, try to recruit the next round, try to bring people in, try to connect corporate customers and try to make it big. So that's what we are doing all the time.
Yeah, total approach, in fact, really interesting. And what do you think is this approach? What makes Cottonwood unique on the market? Or do you think there are other factors that we should mention that you should explain to differentiate Cottonwood from maybe other deep tech investors?
Now, first of all, we do pre-seed seed deals and directly with high tickets. So I think 90% of our investments have no customers, no revenue. So we invest in the pre-revenue stage. If you have a look at TRL levels, it could be TRL level 3, 4, 5, or 6, but even 1 or 2. So our biggest success was, by the way, a company which had only a pitch deck, a PowerPoint. So probably we could say it's TRL level 0. And what we say typically in marketing, you have the 4 P's: price, place, promotion, and product. And we also have the 4 P's. That means 2 PDs, a pitch deck, and a patent. That's our starting point. And but only very disruptive technology, huge potential markets. And typically we say, okay, no prior art. And what we really like, if the industry says that's not possible, that's what we like. If other people say that's not possible, then we got excited to learn more about it. So.
And that's because they didn't know it was impossible that they did it, right?
Yes, exactly. Or they did it, or they think they can do even. So, or they just have a proof of concept of proof of principle. That's a starting point. And then we try to figure out if there is a real potential huge market. And sure. We have a huge corporate network. So we have around 60 to 70 personal contacts at top level at corporates, where we know personally the CTO, personally the head of corporate venturing, for example. And then we try to align the patents and the potential technology with the corporates. And if they say it's a nice to have, we won't invest. But if the corporates say, wow, this is amazing, if these people really can do this, we are really excited and interesting to be a kind of a customer, then probably we will invest.
So do I understand correctly that your network of partners is also some kind of validator before you start investing?
Exactly that, yeah.
Okay, nice approach. And yeah, so I understand it's not the first fund for Cottonwood.
No, this is currently Fund 3. So Fund 1 was just a 100% US fund. Fund 2 was in 2015, combination of the US and Europe. And now we raised recently Fund 3. We are still in fundraising mode, but I think we will close this summer. So we had announced a unicorn last month. So now people are getting more excited and interested to invest in the fund as well.
Okay, interesting. And how many startups did you already invest with those funds?
Currently, we have invested in 20 startups today.
Okay. And so you mentioned one unicorn. Do you want to explain a bit more about that one? Other success stories that you want to mention?
Yeah, we think out of 20, we will have 4 unicorns. And that's for a seed investment, a seed fund, quite unique, I think. So, but 1 is already realized, 3 are on the run. The one was realized is Sarcos Robotics with an exoskeleton. And we did a first round together with 3 corporates, with Microsoft, General Electric, and Caterpillar. And there was a starting pound in 2016. Then they raised a 30 million round 2 years later. Then they raised a 40 million round. And then the cats back up by a SPAC in the US. And the other 3, I think 1 or 2 will be an IPO. And the other 1 will be probably also picked up by a SPAC. That's quite popular right now in the US.
That's interesting because, well, there's nothing I'm going to tell you new. You're going to learn from me if I say that many, if not all investors, they shy away when they hear hardware. This is like something like, but honestly, is there really a way to make money with those kind of investments?
Yeah, really. That is, people don't know the examples. We know only the big platform companies, which are quite big. But we have one company in our portfolio. It's an advanced materials company. And the first 5 years, they had no revenue because just sending prototypes and kind of prototypes to the customers. Then the customers get excited. Then we raised a 4 million round to set up the first product line. And as soon as the product line is ready, we can start selling. But this company is already a sales pipeline of 12 billion, but no one else can make this material. So yeah, that's still possible because no one else can do it. So we are also invested in a photonic chip, which is quite unique. All the data centers are already knocking on the door. Hey, we want to have these chips because they are less energy consumptive, etc. Quite interesting, high speed. So you can really make money, but it's mostly not hidden. Those companies are not known by the consumers, you know. It's mostly always B2B. So yeah, average people have never heard about these kind of brands.
Awesome. Sounds really interesting. I know a bit about what you're doing and always impressed. Also, one thing that I think, you know, already asked you, but maybe you can explain to me another time and for our viewers as well, because Cottonwood, you mentioned it, is originally from the US. Now it's US, Europe. How do you compare the opportunities, the startup active in those 2 regions that are active in a specific sector that you're targeting, deep tech. Are there really many differences or not at all?
Yeah, I see a lot of differences. Also, we learned a lot. So first of all, I think the founding teams in the US, most people have a higher age, so more experience on the table. So you have younger teams in general in Europe. That doesn't have to be a problem if you can add senior salespeople from the beginning. That's one thing. But the most important thing is the availability of follow-on capital. So in the US, it's much more easy to raise a huge big round. I think valuations are probably double than in Europe, but also the speed of getting extra money in will be probably double, and also the valuations are double. So everything is double, and it's twice as difficult to raise money in Europe. And so we learned a lot about it. So first of all, as soon as we invested the first round, 1 week later we started already, okay, how can we connect money for the second round? We attracted also someone with a real network in family offices. So probably sometimes the second round in Europe has to come from family offices. And so we have to do a lot of more work to raise the next round in Europe. It's a little bit getting better. Everyone is more excited about the deep tech space, of course. But there's still a long way to go. And I think the technology doesn't matter, but the US makes it big with more money on the table. And so that's the challenge for Europe. How can we bring more money to those outstanding startups?
Yeah, I understand. Do you think that this change happening in Europe with more interest in deep tech is maybe created by the evolution of mentalities when we look to green energies? I mean, yeah. I know you've got some in the portfolio. Are there these kind of factors that are incentivizing this appetite for?
What you see right now is that especially the government in France, they put in 700 million extra in a deep tech fund. Germany is awake, put in a billion extra, or probably 10 billion over 10 years extra in a deep tech fund. So especially they can provide money and probably matching money 50% from every round. Also, the Netherlands is now thinking about a deep tech fund, and that's really needed. So you can double the amount and the size of the rounds to be more competitive to the US, but also China. And I think we have to protect ourselves that not all the technology is bought up and by the other continents, and we have nothing left here in Europe. So.
Yeah, that's something that we experience over and over in Europe, and definitely something to be changed. I think there's an evolution, like maybe you might not know, but in Belgium, they're talking about raising a national fund, which is really something new for Belgium. We're usually quite lagging behind on that level. Interesting, but that brings me to, the cliche question, COVID times. What was the impact on your portfolio startups? Did it have an impact, and did any of them suffer more, or did they get like a lot of advantages taken out of this period of time?
Yeah, yes and no. So first of all, we try to figure out who was depending on the supply chain out of China, and we found out that no out of our companies was depending on the supply chain in China, because in the beginning, first China was in a lockdown. It took a while before we got infected here in Europe and have all the troubles here. Especially the early stage companies, they were just building the product. So the first 5 years, they have no revenue. And if there is COVID or not, they don't care. They're just being in the lab or in manufacturing plants, doing their jobs. And so still they could continue. It was only more difficult to raise the next round because you couldn't travel, etc. And some startups, they lost a little bit time because all the corporates were working from home. We had one customer, I can't share their name, but all the legal advisors were at home. No one was responding anymore. We couldn't get an agreement with the corporate for 7 months or whatever. Everything was postponed. So, but in the end, I think all of our companies went there. Only one company that was more like a real late stage company already in scale up. They were very close with a corporate to sign an agreement in the first week of or second week of March in 2020. And then came the lockdown and all the COVID stuff came over there. And then the customer decided, oh yeah, let's wait a while. And then they postponed signing the agreement 3 times. And it was an agreement for $1 million revenue per month. But they had already 50 or 60 people on the payroll. So they had to knock down a little bit in the end. So they were really hit by COVID. And But yeah, that was a pity one because it was just before the real scale-up phase in revenues. But most of them, they really, went quite well. Of course, with some hurdles, but everyone has the hurdles, etc. So yeah.
Yeah, indeed. Anyway, building a startup, building a business is never easy, but adding COVID on top of that, back in the time, I used to be active also at the deep tech company. And we also got hit pretty badly by COVID. I had plans to go to the US, to cancel all this. So, but okay, I can imagine this is like the bumps on the roads that you get to encounter as an entrepreneur. And I guess, if you've got good investors, they should support you and help you go through this in the best way possible.
Yeah, that's what we did. We worked almost 24/7 last year. It was crazy, but yeah, that was the only issue to make it happen. So.
Sure. Well, talking about important topics, I know that Cottonwood is an active promoter of gender diversity and multiculturality. Can you explain us a bit more about it and what's the impact on your fund portfolio, if any, and why this promotion?
Yeah, it's not that we really promote it, but at least you can only promote it by acting yourself in the right way. So we have a few ladies into the team, but the challenge is in deep tech, we have almost no female founders. So we try to find them, but they are not there. So I think you have to start at the technical universities, try to find more women to get in the technical studies. And then the second step is, okay, try to find more women who gets from a master into a PhD. And then you have to engage them. Okay, I like to be, after my PhD, to be an entrepreneur. So what we do, we give also trainings to PhDs to become more entrepreneurial. That's one thing. And secondly, of course, you have to give a good example yourself. And I think this summer we will invest in a team with also a female founder. But we have almost no pitch decks with female founders on the table on deep tech. And people, some of them are complaining, yeah, there are no female founders. But you have to start at the beginning. You have to interest young girls already for technology, I think. And that starts already at 8 or 9 years old. And not at the end complaining, oh yeah, there are no female founders. No, let's start at the beginning, So, and that's the most important thing in my opinion. But of course, I never understood the things about diversity. You just have to pick the best people.
Sure, indeed. I completely agree. I mean, you can complain, but if you don't act and try to change that status quo, nothing is going to happen. Yeah, perfect. Thank you very much for those explanation. I'm just wondering, is there anything else that you would like to tell us about Cottonwood that we should know? Any hot news, any spoiler on upcoming news? I mean, I've received today like the news about the 40 million investment. I've read about the SPAC. Are there any other great news upcoming?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, recently or yesterday we announced a 40 million round in a company in the US, a C round 40 million.
Congrats on that.
Yeah, thank you so much. Disruptive Electromotor. We invested in the A round a few years ago. Then we raised in 2019 12.5 million round and currently a 40 million round. It was even oversubscribed. And a lot of investors on the table. We had 16 million on the table, but the company decided to pick 40. And that's what we like as well. There is in the US more the culture of syndication and having more investors together in one deal. But mostly with 1 or 2 lead investors. In Europe, it's more over like, yeah, people don't syndicate. So we have to take that culture from the US to Europe, in my opinion. So that was really exciting news. And then last month, already mentioned, we had the acquisition of Sarcos Robotics for 1.3 billion. And the coming months or quarters, we will invest in probably 2 or even 3 very exciting companies. We are in due diligence of some of them. All of them in the pre-revenue stage, but really, really disruptive technologies. And yeah, people probably at least will love it if they read the story. So, but that will come up probably in September and November or whatever, something like that.
Very nice. Looks promising. Looking forward. I guess you're going to tell me more in the right time. I think it's now time to wrap up. So do you want to provide a small summary about Cottonwood before we wrap up so that people can understand in a nutshell who is Cottonwood?
Yeah, that's always good. Yeah, Cottonwood is an early stage technology fund. We invest in pre-seed seed, in high-tech, deep tech, in advanced materials, nanotechnology, microelectronics, photonics, clean energy, automotive, and advanced materials. But everything what is probably interesting and could be disruptive. Typically, we invest 1 to 2 million in the first round, and then we are kind of venture builders. From LP perspective, I think we are top decile performing. So Fund 1 had a 6x return. Fund 2 has 1 unicorn out of 12 already, and we expect at least 3, probably even 4. So it's also, well-performing fund as well. And we recently raised Fund 3, still open for investors who would like to be part of Deep Tech.
Okay, great. Sounds awesome. Thank you very much for your time today, Alain. The great insights you've provided about Cottonwood, about yourself. I wish you good luck with your current and upcoming investments. And let's talk really soon. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Okay, keep in touch. Thank you. Bye-bye.